What if I told you that one of Japan's most iconic dishes didn't actually originate in Japan?
Millions of people eat ramen all over the world, but very few know its meaning and origins. In a few minutes, we will be discussing all that you need to know about Japan's ramen and how it became one of the most iconic dishes of Japanese cuisine.
This is Kitsune Noodles.
Before ramen became one of Japan's most famous dishes, its origins can be traced back to Chinese wheat noodles. The noodles were originally introduced to Japan during the Muromachi period. They originally made with kansui. Kansui is a baking powder, baking soda solution that gives ramen its yellow color and its chewy texture.
By the late 1910s, ramen became one of Japan's first industrially produced foods thanks to noodle-making machines. At that time, it was still considered a foreign dish and was mainly sold in cafes, Western-style restaurants, Chinese restaurants, and street stalls. Many people believed foreign foods like ramen were healthier and more nutritious than traditional Japanese food because they contained more meat, wheat, oil, and fat. As Japan became more modern, industrialized, and urbanized, ramen became increasingly popular and reflected the country's shift away from its traditional lifestyle.
After World War II, Japan suffered from severe food shortages and ramen almost disappeared because restaurants were forced to close and food was heavily rationed. Even though ramen was temporarily banned from being sold openly, many people still bought it from illegal black markets because it was cheap, filling, and gave people the energy they needed. As Japan's economy recovered and rapidly grew during the 1950s and 1960s, ramen became a favorite meal for construction workers, students, and young people. Large infrastructure projects, including those built for the 1960 Tokyo Olympics, increased the demand for affordable and satisfying meals like ramen. Over time, ramen became to represent survival during Japan's hardest years, and eventually become one of the country's most popular and iconic foods.
Ramen became more popular during the Meiji era, when Japan opened its ports to foreign trade. Chinese immigrants settled in Yokohama and opened restaurants that served Chinese noodle dishes called ramyeon. Over time, the Japanese adapted these noodles, changing the recipe and flavors to suit local tastes. The dish was first called as shinasoba or chakasoba, both meaning Chinese noodles, before it eventually became known simply as ramen. Even though ramen started in China, Japan developed it into the unique and iconic dish enjoyed around the world today. Ramen is made by first preparing a flavorful broth using ingredients such as pork bones, chicken, seafood, or vegetables that are simmered for several hours.
A seasoning base called tare, made from soy sauce, miso, and salt, is then added to give the broth its distinct taste.
The ramen noodles are boiled until cooked, and toppings such as braised pork, soft-boiled eggs, green onions, seaweed, and bamboo shoots are prepared.
Finally, the broth, noodles, and toppings are combined in a bowl and served hot, creating the rich and satisfying dish enjoyed around the world.
Now it's your turn, Ramos.
Yeah, so I got a spicy Ichiban ramen, which is just a spicy version of the Ichiban ramen they have here. It has pork, seaweed, and eggs, so let's give it a try. So instantly, sorry, you're hit with so much flavor. First, it's pretty salty, and then the spice hits you. It's not too spicy though, so just a pleasant amount of spice. And yeah, it's pretty good. During the 1980s, ramen changed from being a cheap meal for workers into a popular food trend. Small ramen specialty shops replaced many old restaurants, and young people became its biggest fans. They even waited in long lines or traveled across Japan just to try famous regional ramen. By the 1990s, ramen chefs became celebrities, and ramen was seen as an important part of Japanese culture. Although ramen originally came from China and uses imported wheat, it eventually became a symbol of traditional Japan.
Many believe that Mitsuki Tokugawa was the first person in Japan to eat an early version of ramen. A Chinese scholar named Yu Jiu prepared the dish for him as a way of thanking him for his kindness. Ramen has such an intricate history, dating back to pre-war and post-war, all the way back to its modern development. In the present, we want people to love and appreciate the history of food and its culture.
There are many more interesting stories about our favorite dish, ramen. However, think of the other foods that have more interesting stories.
We must make sure to preserve and learn these stories for the sake of our cultural preservation. And for that, we are Kitsune Noodles, now signing off.